If you're in debt, you probably heard of the debt snowball and the avalanche methods. Both have been proven to help pay off debt faster. But which one's better, Avalanche or Snowball? So by the end of this video, you'll know exactly which debt strategy will help you save the most money and get out of debt faster. By the way, I'm Sam Kwok. I'm a certified credit counselor and a certified financial education instructor. My brother and I have been helping people implement various financial strategies since 2015, from investing to paying off debt. And together we co-founded a financial consulting company called Accelerated Banking. So finance is all I've been doing for the most of my adult life outside of my military career. With that said, we're comparing two of the most effective debt payoff strategies, the Snowball method and the Avalanche method. We'll break down how each method works, compare the pros and cons of both strategies, and help you decide which one is better for your situation. And I'll even have a free AI calculator that you could use to determine which could be better for your situation. So let's go and first start with the debt snowball method. The debt snowball method was popularized by Dave Ramsey and is all about creating quick wins to build momentum. So here's how the debt snowball works. Step 1 is list all of your debts from smallest to largest and ignore the interest rates for now. Step 2, we're going to focus on paying off the smallest debt with all of our cash flows and savings. Step 3 is to continue making the minimum payments for the rest of the debt. And step 4, once the smallest debt is gone and paid off, roll that payment into the next smallest debt. And lastly, step 5, rinse and repeat the process until you're debt free. Now, the idea behind the debt snowball method is psychological momentum. When you see debts disappearing, it creates motivation to keep going. And that right there is one thing I do appreciate about the debt snowball method as a certified credit counselor. A lot of times when we work with our clients, it's not that they don't have the best strategies or tactics, it's that many of the clients are dealing with psychological blocks like hopelessness or despair. So by creating these quick wins, we can oftentimes break out of the psychological barriers quickly to build confidence for the next debt. So just a quick couple of pros and cons when it comes to the debt snowball method. So for pros, it's a quick win and keeps you motivated. It's easy to follow, easy to implement, and works great for people who struggle with maybe staying disciplined. But the drawback to the debt snowball method is that it's not the most mathematically efficient in terms of saving money. And you might actually end up paying a little bit more interest over time compared to the avalanche method in many cases. And so I'll show you why in just one sec, so hang tight. Now, let's go and look at the flip side, the avalanche method, which takes a more mathematical approach, focusing on paying the least amount of interest possible. So here's how the avalanche debt payoff works. Step 1, list all of your debts from highest and lowest interest rate. Step 2, we're going to focus on the highest interest rate debt first, pay that off first with all of our savings and cash flow. Step 3, continue making the minimum payments on all the other debts as usual. Step 4, once the first debt is paid off, roll that freed up payment into the next highest interest debt. And of course, lastly, step 5, repeat the process until you become completely debt free. Now, from purely a mathematical standpoint, the avalanche debt payoff method actually saves you the most amount of money over time because it eliminates the high interest debt first. In other words, we are removing balance and time away from the most interest expensive debt. So this is particularly great if you don't have psychological blocks or barriers, but rather you're simply looking for ways to optimize for the most tactically effective solution. So I could see someone who has a stronger emotional intelligence and discipline, the patience, as a better fit for the avalanche strategy. So just like what I did with the debt snowball, here's some pros and cons when it comes to the avalanche method. Number 1, as far as pros, is that it saves you most amount of money when compared to the debt snowball. Number 2 is that it gets rid of the high interest debt faster, therefore saving you money, which means that it's mathematically most efficient. However, the drawbacks to the avalanche method is that it does take longer to see your first debt disappear, which could be discouraging, and therefore it takes more patience and discipline to actually see results. So it comes down to this. Which method should you use, the debt snowball or the avalanche? Now, I would choose the debt snowball method if you have the following. Number 1, you need motivation and quick wins to stay consistent. And that's because you might be a little bit more emotionally driven with finances, and that's okay. And if it's more important for you to stick with the plan that you see wins right away, but you don't really mind paying a little bit more interest in exchange for momentum, then I would choose the debt snowball method. On the contrary, I would choose the avalanche method if your top priority is saving the most amount of money. Now, you might already be disciplined. You have a budget, you have a positive cash flow, and you're already ahead in terms of some of the essential things with finance, then the avalanche method might be the best way to go. Bottom line is that if you're someone who struggles with motivation and staying disciplined, snowball is probably gonna be the best way to go. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing whatsoever. And the very fact that you're doing something about your finances, that you're willing to make changes and improvements to your life, I 100% applaud you for willing to take the commitment to change your financial situation. So there is no judgment, no shame, no guilt if you do choose to go with the debt snowball, because at the end of the day, it's still going to help you pay off your debt faster and get you out of that situation. But if you're disciplined and patient enough and want to save the most amount of money, the avalanche method is going to be the best option. Now, onto for some fun. I built a free AI calculator that you can use to compare the savings for both scenarios. So check this out. Okay, so what you're looking at is the AI calculator to help you determine which strategy might be better, debt snowball or avalanche. So the AI chatbot is first asking us what our monthly income and expense is. So as an example, let's say $10,000 a month for income and $8,000 a month for expenses. And again, this is just a hypothetical scenario to show you how the calculator works. Then the AI is going to ask you, okay, great, we have a $2,000 cash flow. What are the debt accounts that we want to pay off? So let's say I'm working with, 5 different credit cards. 5 different credit cards. All right. And of course, the AI is asking me, interest rate, current balance, minimum monthly payments, type of debt, loan terms, if assuming it's not a credit card. So let's say 5 different credit cards. We're going to start with $10,000 balance at, let's say 25% APR. Then let's say next card is $5,000 at 23% APR. $800 at 20% APR. So is that 1, 2, 3? Let's say $9,000 at 30% APR. And lastly, another 5,000 at 20% APR. Then you can see the AI is calculating all the math behind the interest, the minimum payments, which is oftentimes 1% of the balance plus the interest, depending on the interest rate, right? So it'll do all the summation. Then it will try to figure out, okay, which method is better based on the cash flow you have and all the interest costs associated with the 5 different credit cards. So you can see with the debt snowball, it is suggesting pay off the $800 debt first, then move on to the $5,000, okay, and then the next $5,000, and lastly, the $10,000 debt, which is true. That pretty much explains the debt snowball method. And the avalanche method is suggesting to pay off $9,000 first because it's the highest interest cost, and then the 25, 23, 20, and so on. Okay, so then next we're gonna ask, okay, which strategy is going to be better for interest saving? There we go. And then it's thinking, there we go. So it's calculating the baseline interest costs. All right. Yeah, so it says conclusion, the avalanche method is generally better for interest savings as it targets the most expensive debt first. Now, you could always interact with the AI chatbot with other nuances that you may have. Maybe you have a certain scenario where a credit card has a 0% interest for 18 months, and that might play a role. So feel free to be creative with it. Again, this is just for educational purposes only. AI tend to make mistakes too. Yes, it's possible for an AI to make mistakes from time to time. Hopefully this tool will help you determine which strategy could be better for you depending on your scenario. So if you want access to this calculator absolutely for free, there's no sign up required. I'm just gonna give you the link in the video description down below. Check it out. Now, of course, this is to look at the results from purely a mathematical standpoint. But remember, finance isn't just all about numbers and equations. It's sometimes about what you can actually stick with and what gives you the most amount of confidence to continue the method. You may have the best debt payoff method, but it's completely useless if you're not actually sticking with it. So friends, if you enjoyed this video today and learned something, definitely go and share your aha moments or questions down below because I'll be hanging out there as well. And consider subscribing to our channel and check out some of the other free gifts that we have for you in the video description down below. We'll see you in the next video.